Donald Trump rolled into the small town of Maple Grove in a gold-plated SUV, ready to seal a deal that would turn a crumbling community center into a gleaming Trump Tower. But a plain-looking woman with a steely gaze stood in his way. "This isn't your playground, Mr. Trump," she said. He laughed her off, but the next day, her quiet strength would shake his world. Who was this woman, and what secret did she hold that could change the tycoon's plans forever? Winter had settled over Maple Grove, a sleepy town nestled in the rolling hills of upstate New York. Its main street, lined with mom-and-pop shops and a single diner, felt like a postcard from a bygone era. At the edge of town stood Maple House, a weathered brick building that served as the community center. Its chipped paint and creaky floors hid a history of potlucks, youth programs, and town meetings. To the people of Maple Grove, it was more than a building, it was the heart of their community. On a crisp February morning, the town's quiet was shattered by the roar of engines. A convoy of black SUVs, led by a gold-plated Cadillac Escalade, rolled down Main Street. Heads turned, and whispers spread like wildfire. The vehicle stopped in front of Maple House, and out stepped Donald Trump, his signature red tie blazing against a tailored navy suit. At 78, he still carried the swagger of a man who owned every room he entered. His hair, a defiant golden wave, caught the sunlight as he surveyed the building with a critical eye. "This place," he declared to his entourage, "is a disaster. But I'll make it tremendous, believe me." Trump was in Maple Grove for one reason: to buy Maple House and transform it into a luxury condo complex, the first in a series of Trump villages he envisioned for small-town America. The deal was supposed to be a slam dunk. Cash-strapped towns rarely said no to his offers. But as he strode toward the community center's entrance, he didn't notice the woman watching him from the front steps. Sarah Miller, 42, stood with her arms crossed, her brown hair tied back in a simple ponytail. She wore a faded flannel shirt, jeans, and work boots, her face free of makeup. To an outsider, she looked like just another small-town worker, but to Maple Grove, she was a pillar. As the director of Maple House, Sarah had spent years keeping the center alive, organizing after-school programs and fundraisers despite dwindling budgets. Her quiet strength was the glue that held the town together. Trump's entourage parted as he approached, his eyes barely registering Sarah. "Good morning, folks," he boomed, flashing a practiced smile. "I'm here to make Maple Grove great again. Where's the person in charge?" Sarah stepped forward, her boots scuffing the pavement. "That would be me," she said evenly. "Sarah Miller, director of Maple House." Trump's smile faltered as he took in her appearance, her worn clothes, her no-nonsense demeanor. "You," he said, chuckling. "No offense, sweetheart, but I was expecting someone, more official. Let's talk business. I'm buying this place, and I'll make it the best condo complex you've ever seen. Tremendous potential." Sarah didn't flinch. "Maple House isn't for sale, Mr. Trump. This is our community center. It's where our kids learn, where our families connect. You can't put a price on that." Trump's eyebrows shot up, and a few of his aides exchanged amused glances. "Everything has a price," he said, his tone patronizing. "Look, I'm offering millions. Millions. You could build a new center, maybe even name it after me. Think about it." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "I've thought about it." The answer's no. The air grew tense as Trump's smile vanished. "You're making a big mistake," he said, pointing a finger. "This place is falling apart. I'm giving you a chance to cash out. Don't waste my time." Sarah held his gaze. "I'm not the one wasting time, Mr. Trump. If you want to talk, come inside and see what this place means to us." Trump hesitated, then waved a hand dismissively. "Fine, let's see this dump. But don't expect me to change my mind. I'm the best at deals, and I always win." He strode past her, his aides trailing behind. Sarah followed, her jaw tight but her resolve unshaken. Inside, Maple House was a mix of charm and wear. Faded murals painted by local kids adorned the walls, and a bulletin board overflowed with flyers for book clubs and yoga classes. A group of teenagers was setting up tables for a bake sale, their laughter echoing through the hall. Tommy Reed, a lanky 16-year-old with a mop of curly hair, spotted Sarah and waved. "Hey, Sarah, we're almost ready for the sale," he called, then froze when he saw Trump. "Whoa, is that?" "Keep working, Tommy," Sarah said with a small smile. Trump glanced at the teens, unimpressed. "This is it," he said, gesturing at the peeling paint. "You're fighting for this? I could build something 10 times better in a month." Sarah stopped walking and faced him. "It's not about the building, Mr. Trump. It's about the people. Tommy's here because this place gave him a safe space after his dad passed. That big sale is raising money for our library. You don't get that from condos." Trump scoffed. "Sentimental stuff doesn't pay the bills. You need vision, and I've got the best vision. Ask anybody." Sarah's voice stayed calm but firm. "Vision starts with listening, not bulldozing. If you want to understand Maple Grove, stick around for the town meeting tomorrow. Hear what the people have to say." Trump's aide, a slick man named Greg, leaned in. "Sir, we've got a flight to catch." "This is a waste of," Trump cut him off. No, I'll stay. I love a challenge. Let's see if this town can impress me. But don't expect miracles, Sarah. I'm not easily impressed." He flashed a grin, but Sarah didn't return it. "We'll see," she said, then turned to help Tommy with the tables. As Trump and his team left, Greg muttered, "She's delusional. This deal's in the bag." Trump nodded, but something about Sarah's quiet confidence nagged at him. He wasn't used to being challenged, especially not by someone who looked like they shopped at thrift stores. "We'll crush this," he said, climbing into his SUV. Nobody says no to Donald Trump. Back at Maple House, Sarah sat in her cramped office, staring at a framed photo of the center's grand opening in the 1950s. Her grandfather had been one of its founders, and she'd grown up hearing stories of how it united the town. She knew Trump's offer could solve their financial woes, but selling out wasn't an option. "We'll fight for this," she whispered to herself. Meanwhile, across town, Tommy was texting his friends about Trump's visit. "He's like a cartoon," he wrote, but added, "Sarah totally stood up to him. She's a badass." Word of the showdown spread, and by evening, Maple Grove was buzzing. The town meeting was set to be a battleground, and Sarah was ready to show Trump what Maple House and its people were truly worth. But what neither Trump nor Sarah knew was that Maple House held a secret, one buried in its history, that would soon force them both to rethink everything they believed about value, community, and leadership. The Maple Grove Town Hall was a modest brick building, its interior packed with folding chairs and buzzing with anticipation. By 6 p.m., every seat was filled, and locals lined the walls, their faces a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Word of Donald Trump's visit and his clash with Sarah Miller had spread like wildfire. The air was thick with tension as the town prepared to debate the fate of Maple House, their beloved community center. Sarah stood at the front, organizing her notes on a rickety podium. Her flannel shirt and jeans were a stark contrast to the polished suits of Trump's entourage, who had set up a flashy presentation complete with glossy brochures and a looping video of Trump properties. Trump himself sat in the front row, legs crossed, a confident smirk on his face. His aide, Greg, leaned over and whispered, "This'll be easy, sir. These folks will eat up the cash offer." Trump nodded. "Easiest deal I've ever made." "Tremendous." Ellen Hayes, the town's mayor, a sharp woman in her 50s with a no-nonsense bob, called the meeting to order. "Folks, we're here to discuss Mr. Trump's proposal to purchase Maple House," she said, her voice steady. "He's offered a substantial sum to turn it into a condo complex. But Sarah Miller, our community center director, has concerns." "We'll hear both sides." The crowd murmured, eyes darting between Trump and Sarah. Trump rose, adjusting his tie, and strode to the podium like he was walking onto a debate stage. Folks, let me tell you, I love small towns. Love 'em. Maple Grove is great, but it's not reaching its potential. I'm talking millions of dollars in investment. Condos, shops, jobs, the best jobs. Your little center? It's falling apart. I'll build something fantastic, and you'll thank me. Believe me, nobody does real estate better than Donald Trump. The crowd was quiet, some nodding, others frowning. Trump gestured to the screen behind him, where a 3D rendering of Trump Village gleamed with glass towers and fountains. This is the future, he said. You don't need a crumbling old building when you can have luxury. I'll even throw in a new playground, named after me, of course. Tremendous deal. Ellen nodded politely. Thank you, Mr. Trump. Sarah, your turn. Sarah stepped forward, her boots echoing on the wooden floor. She carried no slides, no brochures, just a small stack of photos and a notebook. Maple House isn't just a building, she began, her voice calm but firm. It's where we come together. It's where kids like Tommy Reed find a safe place to grow. It's where we hold memorials, weddings, and bake sales. Last year, we raised $5,000 to keep our library open. That's what Maple House does, it keeps us connected. She held up a photo of a crowded potluck, faces beaming. This is us, she said. Not condos, not luxury. People. Mr. Trump's offer might sound nice, but it'll price out the families who need this town most. We can't sell our heart for a paycheck. The crowd erupted in applause, and even Ellen cracked a smile. Trump shifted in his seat, his smirk fading. Trump stood, raising a hand. Hold on. That's a nice story, Sarah. Very touching. But let's be real. That building's a money pit. You're barely keeping the lights on. I'm offering you a way out. You're welcome. His tone was patronizing, and a few locals bristled. Sarah didn't flinch. We've kept the lights on for decades, Mr. Trump. We'll manage without your condos. The room grew tense as Trump's eyes narrowed. You're stubborn, I'll give you that. But you're not thinking big. You're stuck in the past, running a charity case. I'm offering progress. His voice rose, and he pointed at Sarah. Look at you, flannel and jeans. You're not exactly screaming leader. Step aside and let the professionals handle this. A gasp rippled through the crowd. Tommy Reed, sitting near the front, shot to his feet. You don't know Sarah, he shouted, his voice cracking with emotion. She's the reason I'm not in trouble. She paid for my art classes when my mom couldn't. She's more of a leader than you'll ever be. The room exploded in cheers, and Trump's face reddened. Greg whispered urgently, Sir, let's dial it back. Ellen banged her gavel. Order, please. She turned to Tommy. Sit down, Tommy, but thank you for speaking up. Then, to the crowd, she said, let's keep this civil. Sarah, anything else? Sarah nodded, her expression steady despite Trump's jab. One more thing, she said, pulling a letter from her notebook. This is from my grandfather, who helped build Maple House in 1952. He wrote that it was meant to be a place for everyone, rich or poor. I'm not here for charity, Mr. Trump. I'm here for legacy. The crowd clapped again, but it was Tommy's outburst that lingered. An older woman, Mrs. Clara Evans, stood up. I've known Sarah since she was a girl, she said, her voice trembling. When the center was about to close 10 years ago, Sarah didn't just organize fundraisers, she used her own savings to keep it open. She could have left for a fancy job, but she stayed for us. You don't get to call her a charity case, Mr. Trump. The revelation hit the room like a thunderclap. Even Ellen looked stunned. Trump's mouth opened, then closed, his usual quick retort failing him. Sarah, embarrassed by the attention, waved a hand. Clara, that's enough. This isn't about me. It's about Maple House. But the crowd was on her side, their cheers drowning out Trump's attempt to respond. Ellen called for a break, and the room buzzed with chatter. Trump retreated to a corner with Greg, his confidence shaken. Who is this woman? He muttered. She's got no money, no status, and they're eating out of her hand. What's her deal? Greg shrugged. She's nobody, sir. Just some do-gooder. We'll win this with the numbers. But Trump wasn't so sure. Sarah's hold over the town was stronger than he'd expected, and Clara's words about her sacrifice gnawed at him. During the break, Sarah slipped outside for air, Tommy trailing behind. You were awesome, he said, grinning. You shut him up. Sarah shook her head. It's not about shutting anyone up, Tommy. It's about showing him what matters. He's not the enemy, he just doesn't get it yet. Tommy frowned. You think he ever will? Sarah looked back at the hall, where Trump was gesturing animatedly to his team. Maybe, she said. But he's got a lot to learn. Inside, Ellen approached Trump. Mr. Trump, I'll be honest, Sarah's got the town's heart. If you want to win them over, you'll need more than money. Show us you understand Maple Grove. Trump scoffed, but her words stuck. He wasn't used to losing, and Sarah's defiance was a puzzle he couldn't solve. Fine, he said. I'll stick around. Let's see what this place is really about. But don't expect me to go soft. I'm Donald Trump. As the meeting resumed, Ellen announced a vote would be held in a week, giving both sides time to make their case. Trump vowed to dazzle the town with his vision, while Sarah planned to show the strength of their community. But what neither knew was that Maple House held a hidden history, one that would soon surface and force Trump to confront his own assumptions in ways he never imagined. The morning after the heated town meeting, Maple Grove buzzed with gossip. Donald Trump's flashy proposal for a condo complex had split the town. Some dreamed of the jobs and glamour he promised, while others rallied behind Sarah Miller's defense of Maple House. Trump, holed up in a rented mansion on the town's outskirts, paced the marble-floored living room, his gold-plated phone in hand. This should have been a done deal, he grumbled to Greg, his aide. What's with this Sarah woman? She's got no money, no connections, and they treat her like she's the queen. Greg, scrolling through emails, shrugged. She's got the sob story angle, sir. Small-town hero stuff. We just need a bigger pitch, maybe a press conference, get some media buzz. Trump stopped pacing, his eyes narrowing. No. I want to know her deal. Nobody gets that kind of loyalty without something big. Dig into her. And this Maple House place. There's got to be more to it. Meanwhile, at Maple House, Sarah was helping a group of kids set up for a community art fair. The center's main hall was alive with color, canvases lined the walls, painted by local teens, including Tommy Reed, who was proudly showing off a mural of the town's main street. Sarah adjusted a crooked frame, her mind still on the town meeting. She knew Trump wouldn't back down easily, and the vote in 5 days would decide everything. Tommy nudged her. You think Trump's gonna win? He asked, his voice low. Sarah smiled, but her eyes were tired. He's got money, Tommy, but we've got heart. That's worth more. Tommy grinned. Yeah, and you totally owned him last night. Sarah shook her head. It's not about owning anyone. It's about showing him what we're fighting for. Maybe he'll surprise us. Tommy snorted. Trump? Surprise us? Yeah, right. Across town, Trump's team had pulled some strings. Greg handed him a folder labeled Maple House History. Got this from the county archives, Greg said. Old records, deeds, stuff about the center. And some info on Sarah Miller. Trump flipped open the folder, his curiosity piqued. The first page detailed Maple House's founding in 1952 by a group of locals, including Sarah's grandfather, Henry Miller. The center was built as a place for all, funded by small donations from every family in town. Trump raised an eyebrow. Grassroots. Not bad, but it was the next section that stopped him cold. A decade ago, Maple House had faced foreclosure due to unpaid taxes and repair costs. The town couldn't raise the funds, and the bank was ready to seize the property. Then, Sarah Miller stepped in. She'd inherited a modest sum from her parents' estate, not millions, but enough to have started a new life elsewhere. Instead, She used every penny to pay off the center's debts and fund renovations. She'd taken no salary since living off freelance bookkeeping jobs to keep the center running. Trump leaned back, stunned. She gave up everything for this place, he muttered. Greg nodded. Yeah, and get this, she turned down a job offer from a big firm in Albany to stay here. Could have been making 6 figures. Trump's usual bravado faltered. He'd built an empire on wealth and status, but Sarah's sacrifice was something he couldn't compute. That's crazy, he said, almost to himself. Who does that? That afternoon, Trump decided to see Maple House in action. He arrived unannounced, his SUV pulling up just as the art fair was in full swing. Locals whispered as he stepped inside, his polished shoes clicking on the worn floor. Sarah spotted him and approached, wiping paint-stained hands on her jeans. Mr. Trump, she said, her tone neutral. Didn't expect you here. Thought I'd see what all the fuss is about, Trump said, glancing at the crowded hall. Kids darted between tables, showing off their artwork, while parents chatted over coffee. Tommy was explaining his mural to an elderly couple, his face lit with pride. Trump's eyes lingered on the scene. Not bad, he admitted, but it's still a money pit. You can't keep this up forever. Sarah crossed her arms. We've managed so far. It's not about money, it's about what this place does for people. Tommy painted that mural because he found his passion here. That's worth more than any condo. Trump scoffed, but his usual sharpness was missing. Passion doesn't pay bills, Sarah. You of all people should know that, giving up your own cash for this. Sarah's eyes widened slightly. She hadn't expected him to know about her sacrifice. Who told you that? She asked. Trump shrugged. I do my homework. Gotta say, it's nuts. You could have been living large, but you chose this. He gestured at the chipped walls. Sarah's voice was steady. This is my home. These are my people. You wouldn't understand. Trump bristled. I understand plenty. I built an empire, but I don't get throwing away a fortune for a lost cause. Sarah stepped closer, her gaze unflinching. It's not a lost cause. It's a choice. Maybe you should try listening to the people here instead of talking over them. For once, Trump didn't have a comeback. The truth in her words stung, though he'd never admit it. As Sarah walked away to help a kid with a spilled paint can, Trump wandered through the fair. He stopped at Tommy's mural, its vibrant colors capturing Maple Grove's spirit. Tommy noticed him and hesitated before saying, "You like it?" Trump nodded slowly. Not bad, kid. You got talent. This place teach you that. Tommy beamed. Yeah, Sarah got me into art classes. Said I could be something. She's like the best. Trump's jaw tightened. He'd spent decades judging people by their wealth and status, but here was a kid who saw Sarah as a hero, not for her bank account, but for her belief in him. He turned to leave, but Mrs. Clara Evans, the woman from the meeting, blocked his path. You're still here, Mr. Trump, she said, her tone sharp. Thought you'd be halfway to New York by now. I stick around for a challenge, Trump said, forcing a grin. Clara didn't smile. Sarah's the challenge you'll never beat. She's given this town everything. What have you given, besides promises? Trump opened his mouth to argue, but Clara walked away, leaving him with her words echoing in his head. That evening, Trump sat alone in his rented mansion, the folder on Maple House open before him. He reread the section about Sarah's sacrifice, then pulled up a photo on his phone, a grainy image from a local paper showing Sarah at a fundraiser, smiling despite the weight of the center's debts. For the first time, he felt a flicker of doubt. She's nobody, he muttered, but the words felt hollow. Sarah wasn't nobody. She was someone who'd chosen people over profit, something Trump had never considered. He called Greg. Get me everything on Maple House's history. Old records, stories, anything. I want to know why this place matters so much. Greg sounded confused. Sir, why? We've got the numbers to win the vote. Trump's voice was firm. Just do it. I don't like losing, and I'm not losing to some flannel-wearing do-gooder without knowing why. As night fell, Sarah stood outside Maple House, locking up after the fair. Tommy ran up, holding a small painting. "Made this for you," he said, handing her a canvas of a tree with roots spreading wide. "It's like you, keeping us all grounded." Sarah's eyes softened. "Thanks, Tommy. This means a lot." She glanced at the stars above, knowing the fight for Maple House was far from over. But what she didn't know was that Trump, for the first time in years, was starting to question the one thing he'd always trusted, his own judgment. The sun rose over Maple Grove, casting a golden glow on the town's quiet streets. With only 3 days until the vote to decide Maple House's fate, the community center was a hive of activity. Volunteers bustled about, preparing for a final fundraising event, a talent show to rally support and raise money for repairs. Sarah Miller was at the heart of it, directing kids with props and reassuring nervous performers. Her flannel shirt was rolled up to her elbows, her face lit with determination despite the looming threat of Trump's condo proposal. Across town, Donald Trump sat at a mahogany desk in his rented mansion, surrounded by stacks of documents about Maple House. The records Greg had dug up painted a vivid picture, decades of community events, from Christmas pageants to job fairs, all hosted in that weathered brick building. One photo showed a young Sarah, no older than 10, at a ribbon cutting for the center's library, her grandfather beaming beside her. Trump stared at the image, his usual confidence replaced by a nagging unease. "She's been at this her whole life," he muttered. "That's something." Greg burst in, holding a tablet. "Sir, we've got the media lined up for tomorrow's press conference. We'll pitch the condo project as a game changer. Jobs, tourism, the works. The vote's in the bag." Trump didn't look up. Yeah, great," he said distractedly. "But I'm going back to that center today. I need to talk to Sarah. One-on-one." Greg blinked. "Sir, why?" "She's a nobody. We don't need her approval." Trump's eyes flashed. "She's not a nobody." "Do what I say, Greg. I'm the boss, remember." At Maple House, the talent show preparations were in full swing. Tommy Reed was rehearsing a guitar solo, his fingers fumbling nervously. Sarah clapped as he finished. "You're gonna kill it, Tommy," she said, ruffling his hair. Tommy grinned, but his smile faded when he spotted Trump's gold-plated SUV pulling up outside. "Oh, great," he groaned. "What's he want now?" Trump stepped into the hall, his polished shoes out of place among the scattered props and paint cans. Locals whispered, but Sarah met him with her usual calm. "Mr. Trump," she said, wiping her hands on her jeans. "Back again? The talent show's not really your scene." Trump chuckled, a rare hint of warmth in his voice. "You'd be surprised. I've got the best taste in entertainment. But I'm here to talk. Just you and me. Got a minute?" Sarah hesitated, then nodded. "Sure, let's step outside." They walked to the center's small courtyard, where a weathered bench overlooked a snow-dusted garden. Trump sat, adjusting his tie, while Sarah leaned against a tree, arms crossed. "So, what's this about?" she asked. Trump cleared his throat, his usual bluster subdued. "I did some digging. Found out about your grandfather, the center, all of it. And what you did 10 years ago. Using your inheritance to save this place. That's not nothing." Sarah's expression softened, but she stayed guarded. It wasn't about being a hero. It was about doing what's right. Maple House is this town's soul. Trump nodded slowly. "I get that, but I don't get why. You could have had a big life, fancy job, nice house. Why stay here, scraping by for a building that's falling apart?" Sarah looked out at the garden, her voice steady. "Because this town gave me everything. My grandpa built this place so no one would feel left out. When my parents died, this community raised me. I owe them. And not just them, every kid like Tommy, every family who needs a place to belong. That's worth more than any paycheck." She turned to him. "You talk about winning, Mr. Trump. To me, Winning is seeing Tommy play his guitar tomorrow, knowing he's got a future. Trump was quiet, her words sinking in. He'd spent his life chasing deals, skyscrapers, and headlines, but Sarah's definition of success was alien to him. "You're different," he said finally. "Most people would have taken the money and run. I would have." Sarah smiled faintly. "Maybe, but you're here now listening. That's a start." Trump shifted uncomfortably. "Look, I'm not saying I'm sold, but I'm thinking maybe there's another way. What if I don't buy the place? What if I fund the repairs instead? Keep it running, make it better." The Trump way, classy, top-notch. Sarah raised an eyebrow. "A donation? That's generous, but it comes with strings, doesn't it?" Trump grinned, his old charm resurfacing. "Smart lady. Yeah, I'd want some credit, maybe a plaque, Trump Community Wing. But I'm serious. I don't want to bulldoze this place anymore." Sarah studied him, searching for sincerity. "I'd consider it," she said, "but on one condition. You work with us. Not as a checkbook, but as part of the team. Show up, meet the people, see what we do. Then we'll talk." Trump laughed, a genuine, booming sound. "You're tough, Sarah. I like that. Fine, I'm in. But don't expect me to wear flannel." Sarah smirked. "Deal. Start with the talent show tomorrow. Be our guest judge. The kids would love it." Trump's eyes widened. "Judge? Me? I'm the best at judging, but kids? That's different." Sarah's smile grew. "Exactly. Time to try something new." As they returned to the hall, Tommy ran up, guitar in hand. "Sarah, I'm freaking out about tomorrow," he said, then froze when he saw Trump. Hi." Trump clapped him on the shoulder. "Relax, kid. I'm judging your show tomorrow. Play like a winner, and you'll be fine. I know winners." Tommy's jaw dropped, and Sarah stifled a laugh. That evening, Trump sat in his mansion, flipping through more records about Maple House. One caught his eye, a 1960s article about a fire that nearly destroyed the center. The town had rebuilt it, brick by brick, with every family pitching in. He thought of Sarah's words about community and felt a strange pull. For the first time, he wondered if his empire, built on competition and profit, had missed something vital. At Maple House, Sarah was locking up when Mayor Ellen Hayes stopped by. "Heard Trump was here," Ellen said. "You think he's serious about helping?" Sarah shrugged. "Maybe. He's starting to listen, and that's more than I expected. But he's got a long way to go." Ellen nodded. "You've got a gift, Sarah, making people see what matters. Keep it up." As Sarah walked home under the starry sky, she thought of her grandfather's dream for Maple House, a place where everyone belonged. Trump's offer was a step, but she knew the real test was whether he could embrace the town's heart, not just its building. And Trump, staring at the article about the fire, was beginning to realize that leadership might mean more than winning. It might mean building something that lasted. The night of the Maple House talent show had transformed the community center into a vibrant celebration of Maple Grove's spirit. The hall was packed, with fairy lights strung across the rafters and tables laden with homemade pies and lemonade. Kids in mismatched costumes darted between chairs, while parents clapped and cheered. The air hummed with excitement, but beneath it all was the weight of the next day's vote, the moment that would decide whether Maple House would remain the town's heart or become a Trump-branded condo complex. Sarah Miller stood backstage, adjusting a prop microphone for a nervous third grader. Her flannel shirt was swapped for a simple blue dress, a rare nod to the occasion, but her steady presence was unchanged. She glanced at the front row, where Donald Trump sat, his red tie a bold splash against his navy suit. At 78, he was still larger than life, but tonight, his usual swagger was tempered by something new: curiosity, maybe even respect. Next to him, Mayor Ellen Hayes whispered something, and Trump nodded, his eyes scanning the bustling hall. The show kicked off with a bang: a tap-dancing duo, a poetry reading, and a surprisingly soulful rendition of Sweet Caroline by the town's librarian. Trump, true to his word, took his role as guest judge seriously, scribbling notes and offering feedback with his trademark flair. Terrific energy, kid, but work on the timing. You'll be a star, he told a young juggler, earning a shy grin. The crowd ate it up, charmed by his larger-than-life presence. When Tommy Reed took the stage with his guitar, the room fell silent. His fingers strummed a heartfelt original song about Maple Grove's rolling hills and tight-knit families. Sarah watched from the wings, her throat tight. Tommy's voice cracked on a high note, but he powered through, and when he finished, the crowd erupted. Trump stood, clapping loudly. "That's a winner, Tommy." Tremendous heart, he boomed, and Tommy's face lit up like the 4th of July. Backstage, Sarah caught Trump's eye as he approached. "Not bad, huh?" she said, a teasing smile tugging at her lips. Trump chuckled. "Better than some Vegas shows I've seen. These kids got guts. Reminds me of me at that age, fearless." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Fearless or just loud?" Trump laughed, a genuine belly laugh that echoed through the hall. "Both, Sarah. Both." As the show wound down, Ellen took the stage to thank everyone. "Maple House is more than a building," she said, her voice carrying the weight of the moment. "It's us, our stories, our dreams. Tomorrow, we vote on its future. Whatever happens, we'll keep fighting for what matters." The crowd cheered, and Sarah noticed Trump's expression shift, less showman, more listener. After the show, Trump lingered, shaking hands and posing for selfies with starry-eyed locals. Sarah found him near the mural Tommy had painted, his hand tracing the vibrant lines of Main Street. "You were right," he said quietly, almost to himself. "This place isn't about money. It's about roots." Sarah joined him, her hands in her pockets. "Took you long enough to see it," she said, but her tone was warm. Trump turned to her, his eyes serious. "I've been thinking, I'm not buying Maple House. I'm funding it, full restoration, new library, the works. No strings, no Trump wing. Just a gift from me to you." Sarah's jaw dropped. "You're serious?" Trump nodded. "Dead serious. But I'm keeping your deal. I'm working with you. I want to learn this community stuff. Maybe I've got some roots to grow too." Sarah studied him, searching for the catch. Finding none, she extended a hand. "Deal." Trump shook it, his grip firm. "You're tough, Sarah Miller. The best negotiator I've ever met." She smirked. "And don't you forget it." The next day, the vote was unanimous. Maple House would stay. The town hall overflowed with cheers, and even Trump clapped, a rare humility in his smile. Over the following weeks, he kept his word. Contractors arrived, funded by his check, to restore the center's brickwork and install new windows. But what stunned Maple Grove was Trump himself, showing up in a, slightly less flashy, jacket to haul lumber, pour concrete, and even joined Tommy for a painting session. "You're not bad for an old guy," Tommy teased, splattering paint on Trump's sleeve. Trump laughed. "Old? I'm timeless, kid." Sarah watched it all, amazed. Trump wasn't perfect, his ego still flared, and he couldn't resist a photo op, but he listened. He asked questions, learned names, and shared stories of his own childhood, revealing a side few ever saw. One evening, as they finished laying tiles in the new library, he pulled Sarah aside. "You know, I came here to win," he said. "But you taught me something better, how to build. Not just buildings, but people." Sarah's eyes softened. "You're not so bad yourself, Mr. Trump. You showed up. That's what counts." Trump grinned. "Call me Donald. And don't get used to it, I'm still the best." Sarah rolled her eyes, but her laugh was genuine. Months later, Maple House reopened with a grand celebration. The restored building gleamed, its new library stocked with books donated by Trump's foundation. A plaque inside read simply, "For Maple Grove, from a friend." Trump attended, shaking hands and cutting the ribbon with Tommy at his side. The town had become a second home, and he'd even bought a small cabin nearby, joking he'd retire to the simple life, maybe. Sarah stood on the steps, watching kids race across the lawn. Ellen joined her, nodding at Trump, who was teaching Tommy a handshake. "Never thought I'd say this, but he's all right," Ellen said. Sarah smiled. "He's learning. We all are." Across the lawn, Trump caught her eye and gave a thumbs up. She returned it, knowing Maple Grove had changed him, just as he'd changed them. As the sun set, Sarah reflected on her grandfather's dream, a place for everyone. Maple House was stronger than ever, not because of money, but because of heart, hers, the town's, and improbably, Donald Trump's. He'd come as a tycoon, but left as something more, a man who'd learned that true leadership wasn't about dominating, but uplifting. We all judge people by their cover sometimes, don't we? But Sarah and Trump's story shows us what happens when we look deeper. A tycoon and a small-town hero found common ground, proof that anyone can change if they're willing to listen. What did this story teach you? Have you ever misjudged someone or been misjudged yourself? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if this tale inspired you, hit that subscribe button for more stories that spark the heart. See you in the next one.